Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Prisoner of War. And this is from director Louis Mandylor, who is certainly a pretty familiar face amongst different, action fan circles and everything. And this stars Scott Adkins, who also is a really big name in action movies and stunt work. And I was particularly excited about seeing him in this film as James Wright, a British SAS officer during World War II, is captured and forced to fight in a Japanese internment camp. And this is a martial arts film, a action flick, period drama. And this film, overall, I think Mandylor finds the right tone to this. And from the opening scene, you see Scott Adkins showing up to this dojo, and this martial arts expert being like, my father told me of this man, and obviously it's Scott Adkins. And we get shot back in time, and we see his plane crash and him trying to get away from the Japanese and going to this internment camp and then being put in fights. And obviously the most important thing, I feel like, for most people watching this movie, the action's great. The choreography and everything is fantastic. Mandylor does a great job of letting them do work and putting the camera in a place where you're going to capture all the action and all of its glory. Scott Adkins can do all the action, and he does. And it's thrilling, it's exciting, all of his action sequences really work. And overall, I think the film feels a little repetitive and redundant in terms of some narrative beats throughout, and doesn't need to be an hour and 50 minutes. Probably could have been a little leaner, but I do think from a drama standpoint, there's an interesting dynamic between Adkins and Peter Shinkoda, who is this captain of this Lieutenant Colonel Ito who runs this camp. And there's definitely that kind of bridge on the river Kwai dynamic in terms of there's a level of respect there, there's a level of tension there, and you have some of that relationship. I think that Adkins has some good chemistry with some of the fellow soldiers. There's some romantic subplot kind of elements thrown in there that just kind of felt needless and didn't really need that. I don't know if they were trying to humanize James Wright more by having that kind of element to the film, but I don't think it really added much. That could have probably been leaned out for sure. But outside of the action, which really works well, I think the film's generally pretty well paced. Narratively, there's some interesting dynamics between him and Ito, but overall, the Japanese are pretty much painted as these brutal types of folk, and nothing particularly interesting and dynamic from a lot of that kind of thing. But this is a story about resilience and fighting through these challenging times, and I think Mandylor does a really fine job bringing that to life on screen. And Adkins even was involved and made the story for this. This was written by Mark Klabanoff, and the writing of this isn't the strongest piece, but it does have some interesting themes and ideas that it can throw at you as an audience amongst all the action and everything that I think is pretty compelling and interesting. I overall really enjoyed this. I think this is a little bit of above average kind of martial arts action period film, and I think Adkins and Mandylor work really great together, and I would like to see more of their films together like this and bring on the action. But those are my thoughts on Prisoner of War. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.